All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. It's Anti-War Radio. I'm Scott Horton, and our next guest is Kevin Zeese. ComeHomeAmerica.us. That's the website, and that's also the name of the book. The title of the book, ComeHomeAmerica.us, Historic and Current Opposition to U.S. Wars, and How a Coalition of Citizens from the Political Right and Left Can End American Empire. What a great title for a book. That's exactly what I'm saying. Welcome back to the show, Kevin. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
This is one of the most important things, I think, really, is, well, it's hard to rank these things, but I guess I learned in community college about it. In the 1930s, it was a realignment. All the liberals and the progressives and the conservatives and everybody got in on the New Deal except a very few classical liberal types, and it was town and country and black and white and East Coast and West Coast and the Midwest, and everybody got on board, and it was a big political realignment in America, and the old terms, a lot of them flip-flopped meanings, and a lot of them just got brand new meanings, and this is what we need right now in America to end the empire, is for the people who care about the Bill of Rights and peace, regardless of what other labels they've allowed to be applied to themselves or what have you, can finally have our way and get our act together, and that's the movement that you're helping to lead here.
Well, thanks a lot. I think I agree a lot with what you say there. The 1930s, of course, were a time of economic collapse, and that tends to bring people looking for solutions, new ways of doing things, and we're seeing that right now. We're seeing our foreign policies falling apart with failed wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, now new fronts in Pakistan. We're seeing the Egyptian example of U.S.-supported dictatorship as a policy that doesn't work any longer. We're seeing the empire economy not working at home, and so ComeHomeAmerica.us, which is a website we have up now. It's actually in beta testing, so your listeners can go check it out and send me any comments they have about it. We're just testing it out now. But there's also a book you can order there called ComeHomeAmerica.us that is a compilation of materials from about 30 to 40 authors, ranging from Justin Raimondo to Ralph Nader, and it's people who oppose war and empire and want to see it changed. And we divide the book into three parts. One looks at the history of anti-war activism, showing that throughout history we've had people from the conservative, libertarian, as well as the progressive and liberal sides of the political spectrum all working to end war. It's not a new idea, and it's one that we need to reinvigorate. And we've had very successful anti-war movements in the past, much more successful than we have today. And we need to learn from that history. The second part, looks at the current situation, the wars we're fighting now, how they're going, and why we should get out of them. And the third deals with the future. What would be an effective anti-war movement? So hope you will visit ComeHomeAmerica.us and buy the book and give us your comments about how we can build this movement into one that cannot be ignored by the political powers.
All right, well, so tell us more about the organization, because you held a big conference of, had people from the American Conservative and the Nation and everywhere in between. Maybe you can tell us briefly again a little bit of the history of that and where things have gone as far as really building this thing up. I mean, that's your bread and butter, is the actual networking and the activism and the making it happen, right?
That's right. We're really just getting started. I mean, we had our first event, which was a kind of a pilot conference to see if people from the right and left and in between could get together for a day and not, have a food fight and could work together. And we held that conference back in February 20th of 2010, and we found that people not only could get together and work together, but they wanted to. That the people who came to this conference, we had like 40 people. Included, as you said, the American Conservative, the Nation, included Students for Democratic Society to Campaign for Liberty. And we got them together, and they recognized the need for those of us who oppose war and empire to come together. Because we see what's happening in Congress. Those who are corporatists from the Republican Party and from the Democratic Party who favor, U.S. foreign policy dominated by militarism, who see war as a way for our transnational corporations to get cheap labor and cheap resources, they've come together, and they've made themselves unstoppable. And the only way we're going to stop it in Congress is if we can energize libertarians and conservatives, traditional conservatives, and progressives and liberals who oppose war to come together and vote against war funding. That's where the power is. And so this conference was a success, and we decided that the next step would be to publish this book. The book was, a lot of the articles in the book were developed for the conference, so we added a bunch more that expanded it. And so it includes a range of people that I think people will find really interesting. And then the next steps we have in mind are going to be a national conference, and a series of town hall forums around the country to push the conference and also to push the book, to talk about this issue and develop the organization. And we're trying to raise the money for that conference now, and as soon as we have that money raised, a few months later we'll put the conference on. And so we're in that fundraising stage. So if people want to have questions about that, they can contact me through the website, comehomeamerica.us, and we can talk about how they can get involved, what they can do. We plan the conference to be something that's a big event. We're going to put out a request for papers that cover a range of issues like, is the United States an empire? Is the militaristic foreign policy good for the U.S. economy, for democracy, for the rule of law? And we're going to put that out to academics, advocates, think tank, people who work in think tanks, people who work in advocacy groups. A whole range of people are going to get these requests for papers, and we're going to develop a new face to the anti-war movement that's going to be broader and one that we hope cannot be ignored as easily. When you look at the build-up to the Iraq War, there were millions of people in the streets opposing the war. But President Bush was able to ignore those people. They all came from the Democrat side or the left side of the political spectrum. And he doesn't have to listen to Democrats or people on the left because he's not going to get their votes anyway. If we had a broad-based movement in those days, and we had brought out people from the Republican side, from the conservative side, from the libertarian side, if they had joined into those demonstrations because we had organized broadly, it would have been much more difficult for President Bush to ignore because he would be losing votes. His voters would be out there too. And so we think it's very important for us to have a broad-based constituency on this issue of war and empire. Of course, we disagree on other issues, but we also agree on other issues. We agree on civil liberties, for example. We see the war mentality undermining civil liberties at home. They're pushing the Patriot Act renewal now in the Congress. It failed yesterday in a vote, but I see today in Politico the Democrats are criticizing the Republicans for mishandling that vote, showing what they really think, that they actually support, the leadership actually supports the Patriot Act in the Democratic Party. And so, lots of civil liberties is something else we agree on. And so there are areas we can build together. And when we disagree, we hope that when we disagree, because we work together on issues we agree on, we can at least listen to each other. I ran for office in 2006, U.S. Senate, and was nominated by the Green Party and the Libertarian Party and the Populist Party. I was the only person ever nominated by Green and Libertarian Party for a statewide office. And what I found interesting about it was it created a space where we could hear each other, we could listen to each other and learn from each other. And the ideas the Libertarians have for dealing with the environment that the Greens can learn from, and the ideas on health care that the Libertarians can learn from, and on other issues as well. And we also learned what issues we agreed on. So I think there's a real chance for us to develop this kind of a cross-partisan, this trans-partisan, issue-based agenda that we can bring people together on and really have an impact that we have been unable to have so far. So that's our hope and that's our goal.
Great. Well, we are coming up near the time limit here. I have so much about what you just said that I want to go over with you in the next segment, but right now I'll tell people again about the website. It's comehomeamerica.us, and plenty of contact information there for Kevin Zeese. And also, don't go to Amazon, but go to any other book-selling website and find comehomeamerica.us, Historic and Current Opposition to U.S. Wars and How a Coalition of Citizens from the Political Right and Left Can End American Empire. And it's full of a bunch of great authors, too, past, present, and tomorrow. Hang on, y'all. We'll be right back. All right, y'all. Welcome back to the show. It's Anti-War Radio. I'm Scott Horton. On the line is Kevin Zeese from Voters for Peace and Come Home America. And now, so Kevin, I think maybe a couple of years ago we talked about this, and you had something to say about maybe getting doctors to try to organize doctors, and trying to get lawyers to organize lawyers, and radio show hosts to organize radio show hosts, and academics to organize academics. And if we need to form new groups to then all join up together into this one big Voltron group, then that's what we got to do. Is that part of the plan still?
It makes a lot of sense to organize people who you have something in common with. That is definitely the way to go. Clergy organizing clergy, academics organizing academics, so that will definitely be part of the future plan. Right now we're at the stage where we're going to be reaching out to the initial core group in those areas through this conference. And so when we put out a request for papers to academics, history professors, political scientists, foreign policy professors, students from those areas, then we'll start to, from that, develop a core group who can reach out further. And that's the plan, is to keep building a core and building concentric circles larger and larger around that core.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm trying to think of a good example right off of the top of my head, but so many times you'll see some kind of anti-war statement or anti-Guantanamo statement or something that'll just have an extraordinary list of public advocacy groups and whatever who are signed on to it, and it seems like that's really the big task, is lining up as many groups as you possibly can, even if you got to make new ones. And make, being the one big coalition for everybody, all the groups that already exist and everybody else who's going to join into this massive new thing.
That's right. And, no one anti-war coalition will cover everybody, because there'll be people on the left who don't want to affiliate with free market thinkers on the right. There'll be people on the right who don't want to affiliate with socialists on the left. So we're going to have the, divide. That's fine. I have no problem with people organizing on their own to develop their own organizations that are more focused on like-minded people. That we need that as well. So, and with Voters for Peace, our other anti-war project, we're very interested in organizing progressives who should be opposing war, whether you're an environmentalist or a labor leader. I mean, you need to be opposed to war because it hurts your issue. Possibly spending half of our discretionary spending on weapons and war. And so this is an issue that affects every issue. And we need to get that across the public, that the empire economy that emphasizes militarism is undermining the civilian economy. Whether you believe in the money coming back and going to lower tax rates, or the money coming back to be invested in rapid rail or health care or education, whatever your belief on that is, the money coming back out of the military economy is the key to developing the civilian economy. We're not going to do it without doing that.
Yeah. Plus all the people killed, too.
Oh,
it's
God.
Really bad. But yeah, I mean, I just want to say right here, like, it seems to me, and I know I have my particular libertarian analysis of class war and whatever, but it seems to me it's so obvious that the lines, regardless of all the old social issues and country and rock and roll and all this different stuff, abortion and whatever people want to argue about, there's the Bill of Rights, there's welfare for people who are already billionaires, and there's the world empire. I mean, this is the core three things that defines the difference between us and them, the people of this country versus the people who right now have all the power and make all the policy. These are the three things that they insist on, bailing themselves out, destroying our Bill of Rights, and waging a world empire. And these are the three things that we all are most against, right?
I agree.
Simple as that. Easy line between us and them on the issues that define us today,
That's right. The wealth divide, which is such a major problem in the United States. In fact, our wealth divide is worse than the wealth divide in Egypt. The wealth divide, which is so big in the United States, really is caused by crony capitalism, or if you want to call it corporate welfare. Both pretty much the same thing. One's a right term, one's a left term, but they both mean the same thing. It means political preference for those who are politically connected in the big business. And I think we need to really be clear that that's what we're fighting when it comes to the economy, is ending that kind of crony capitalist approach that favors the entrenched concentrated corporate powers and results in a corporate government, which is a very dangerous kind of government. And it's that corporate government that also leads to the loss of civil liberties. And those are the issues where we need to build on, and I think that there are issues we have in common. And then, as I said, beyond those issues, we can have discussions and listen to each other, and I imagine we will improve each other's perspectives by listening to each other. So that's where I hope we can go as people who are trying to break the corporate state and challenge the existing powers that be, who are perpetuating wars, who are undermining the Bill of Rights, and who are creating this wealth divide that's so destructive to any country.
Yep. Well, excluding the welfare part, the corporate welfare part explicitly, although it tends to be included because it's all the same story, really. Antiwar.com has taken this approach the whole time, that we're libertarians, but we include anybody who's good on war, and we'll have Pat Buchanan and Dan Ellsberg right next to each other. Their articles posted right next to each other on the same day, and we try to be a resource for anyone who's good on this issue or wants to be educated on it. It's really good to see people catching on. I tend to think of the libertarians as the real middle, but the real moderates, as opposed to who we call the moderates now, who are like the Joe Liebermans and the John McCain centrists of the world, who aren't moderate at all. They're the most extreme of all. The libertarians are the center between the good left and the good right, the peaceful left and the peaceful right. And it seems like with the issues so starkly dividing us and them, and with the ideology so basically American, it seems like we can't help but win. We ought to.
I agree with your applause for antiwar.com. In fact, they've asked me to become a regular columnist, and so you'll have Justin Raimondo and Kevin Zeese on the right and left.
There you go.
Talking together on these kinds of issues, and they are an excellent resource for anyone who cares about these issues. They really cover the issues so thoroughly.
And that's a lot more people than me. I'm not trying to take the credit. I'm giving the praise, too.
Oh, there are a lot of good people involved in that. I mean, Eric Garris is doing a great job. Angela Keaton is doing a great job. Justin, of course, and you do a great job. So it's a strong team that has put that together and really makes it such an effective source of understanding the issues, that are daily facing us. I mean, what we're seeing in Egypt is such an amazing revolution, and it really is an opportunity for us to see our government at work. The way that the Obama administration is pushing Suleiman, who was the torturer in chief, essentially the intelligence head for 30 years, trained in the United States in military intelligence issues, a friend of Israel. Boy, to see the United States pushing him as the alternative to Mubarak is so pitiful. I really hope that the people of Egypt stand firm and oppose any continuation of the regime, not just Mubarak, but people like Suleiman as well. It really won't be a change. There'll be more of the same. It'll be, more of a autocratic state. I mean, Suleiman's saying that they're not ready for democracy in Egypt. He's saying they don't need to get rid of 30-year emergency laws. 30-year emergency laws. He is out of touch, and yet, aggressively.
Well, we have a real opportunity here where even Neil Cavuto on Fox News is telling Ron Paul, so you're saying just don't pay any of these people. It kind of makes sense to me. I mean, that means there's a world of possibility open to us. Like Condoleezza Rice and Bill Clinton and the rest of these people say, Rahm Emanuel, whenever there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. So, maybe the Rand Pauls and the Al Frankens of the world can make a little coalition in our Senate, Maybe we can force them to.
Well, I think that's right, and it's an opportunity. I was very pleased to see Rand Paul raise the issue of foreign aid for Israel. I mean, that's an issue that has not been allowed to be discussed, and hopefully with Rand Paul, raising it, others will have the courage to discuss it as well, because our U.S. alliance with Israel is, I think, one of the great dangers in American foreign policy, and it prevents a lot of positive move that could be occurring. And it prevents Israel from actually making peace. If the United States was not providing 20% of their military budget, giving Israel as much as we provide to all of sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean combined, if we were not doing that for this country the size of New Jersey, Israel would have to negotiate peace. We out from the Palestine paper, we've not been negotiating good faith. So it's time.
All right. Oh, well, sounds like we lost him right on time. Thank you, Kevin. That's Kevin Zeese, Voters for Peace, and most especially ComeHomeAmerica.us. That's the website and the name of the book. You can find it at every book website except Amazon.com. Don't bother there.